is as old as the human race. The carrying of banners has been a custom among all people in all ages. These banners usually contain some concept of life or government of those who fashioned them. The evolution of the American flag marks the progression of the government of the American people. From the landing of the Pilgrims in 1620 until 1775, the flag of England was the flag of the peoples of America. In 1775, the pine tree flag was adopted for all colonial vessels, and this was the banner carried by the Continental forces in the Battle of Bunker Hill. The southern colonies from 1776 to 1777 used the stake flag. In the latter part of 1775, the Continental Congress appointed a committee to consider the question of a single flag for the 13 colonies. That committee recommended a design of 13 alternate stripes of red and white, with an azure field in the upper corner bearing the red cross of St. George and the white cross of St. Andrew. John Paul Jones, the senior lieutenant of the flagship Alfred, hoisted this flag to the masthead on December 3rd, 1775, and 1 month later it was raised over the headquarters of George Washington at Cambridge, Massachusetts, in compliment, as he wrote, to the United Colonies. This flag, called the Continental Colors and the Grand Union, was never carried in the field by the Continental Land Forces, but it was used by the Navy as its exclusive ensign, and the first American flag to receive a salute of honor, a salute of 11 guns from the Fort of Orange in the Dutch West Indies. In response to a general demand for a banner more representative of our country, the Congress in June 14, 1777 provided that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes of alternating red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white on a blue field, representing a new constellation. It is generally believed that in May or June of 1776, a committee of George Washington, Robert Morris, and George Ross commissioned Betsy Ross, Philadelphia Quakerist, to make a flag from a rough design they left with her. It is said she suggested that the stars should have 5 points rather than 6. This starry banner was first flown at Fort Stanwix, called Fort Schuyler at the time, near the city of Rome, New York, on August 3rd, 1777, and was under fire 3 days later at the Battle of Oriskany, August 6th, 1777, during a British and Indian attack. The first official salute to the Stars and Stripes was given on February 14, 1778, by France on the French coast, while the Ranger, under the command of John Paul Jones, was saluted by the French fleet. This flag, then carried by the Ranger, was made by young women of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, from stripes of their best colored silk dresses and the white wedding gown of a recent bride. It is said that the same Ranger's flag was flown by Jones's ship, the Bonhomme Richard, in its thrilling flight by moonlight upon the high seas with the British frigate Serapis. When the Serapis struck her colors, the immortal fame of John Paul Jones was ensured as the intrepid defender of the youthful republic. The original 13 Stars and Stripes represented the original 13 colonies. In 1795, 2 additional Stars and Stripes were added to represent the admission to the Union of Vermont and Kentucky. Under this banner of 15 Stars and Stripes was fought the War of 1812. It was decided that flying over Fort McHenry on September 14, 1814, that inspired Francis Scott Key to write what has become the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Miss Margaret Young, who cut the stars for that particular banner, was the mother of Henry Sanderson, the Grand Exalted Ruler of the Order of Elks in 1884. The Congress on April 14, 1818, adopted a resolution that on or after July 4, 1818, the number of stripes should be 13, and that the blue field should carry 1 star for each of the 20 states in the Union, that a new star should be added for each state thereafter admitted. Since 1918, there has been no change in the flag design except that 28 new stars were added before July 4th, 1912. And this flag of 48 stars just flew over the nation for 47 years until just before the Vietnam War. On July 4th, 1959, a star was added for Alaska and our first non-connected state, and a year later, Hawaii, our island state, added a 15th star. Our present flag, 50 stars and 13 stripes.
Thank you, Greg. Please stand and salute our flag. When the colors are being brought forth, please stand and remove your hats. Military veterans, uniformed officers may present with the hand salute, and all others place your right hand over your heart. As this emblem is first in our hearts as loyal Americans, so is it close to our altar as loyal elves. The gentle breezes of leisurely caress kiss the flag, kiss the folds of no flag which can compare with it in beauty. There is no such red in budding rose, in falling leaf, or sparkling wine. No such white in April blossom, crescent moon, or mountain snow. No such blue in women's eye, in ocean's depths, or heaven's dome. And no such pageantry of clustering stars and streaming lights in all the spectrum of the sea and sky. Please be seated. A flag is at once a history, a declaration, and a prophecy. It represents the American nation as it was at its birth. It speaks for what it is today, and it holds the opportunity for the future to add other stars to this glorious constellation. The Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks is the first and only fraternal body to require formal observance of Flag Day. In July of 1908, the Grand Lodge of this order at Dallas, Texas, then assembled, provided for the annual nationwide observance of Flag Day on the 14th of June each year, by making it mandatory upon each subordinate lodge of the order. This unique distinction is the strongest promoter of the Flag Day. It has become it's most becoming to the Order of Elks. This order is distinctively American. Only American citizens are eligible to join it, and it has no foreign affiliation. It has linked its destiny with the destiny of our country and made this flag a symbol of self-dedication to God, to country, and to fellow man. Please stand and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
The Stars and Stripes, flag of the United States of America. The worldwide hope of all who, under God, will be free to live and do His will. Upon its fold is written the story of America, the epic of the mightiest and noblest in all history. In the days when people of old world groveled in abject homage to the heresy of the divine kings of right, a new constellation appeared in the western skies. The Stars and Stripes, symbolizing the divine right of all to life, liberty, happiness, and peace under endowment by their Creator. To whom is given words adequate to tell the story of the building of this nation? That immortal story is written in blood and sweat, in heroic deeds and unremitting toil, in clearing the primeval forests and in planting the vast prairies where once the coyote and buffalo roamed. Onward swept the nation, spanning wide rivers, leaping vast mountain ranges, leaving in its path villages and farms, factories and cities, till at last this giant nation stood astride the continent, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This is the heritage of the people of the United States. It has been repurchased by each succeeding generation and must be re-won again, again, and again until the end of time, lest it shall pass like the empires of Greece and Rome. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. What was won at Lexington and Concord and Bunker Hill had to be repurchased at Ticonderoga and Yorktown. What John Paul Jones achieved upon the high seas in the War of Independence had to be repurchased by Commodore Perry on Lake Erie in the War of 1812. The prestige of Admiral Dewey's victory at Manila Bay in 1898 was re-won by the naval battles in the seas about the far distant islands of the Pacific after the sneak attacks upon Pearl Harbor and Manila in 1941 had summoned our country to assume its role in World War II. What our troops achieved under the Stars and Stripes at Chateau Thierry in Flanders in World War I, their sons were required to repurchase in World War II in the bloody trek across North Africa, on the beachheads of Europe, and in the Battle of the Bulge. The flag of our American men raised at Iwo Jima was the same flag later raised in the defense of Incheon, Busan, and Pork Chop Hill in far-off Korea. Then another generation under the same flag led to stem the threat of communism in far-off Vietnam. Our young people were once again called to carry on the flag of defense of a free world in the actions of Grenada and Panama. Willingly, our brave men and women carried our flag and the honor of the American people into the battle of Operation Desert Storm. Who among us will ever forget the sight of firefighters raising our flag over the ruins of the World Trade Center? Military personnel draping our flag, and a regimental ensign on the side of the Pentagon. Or the citizens of Somerset County, Pennsylvania, placing our flag near the site where brave Americans died fighting the hijackers in Flight Number 93. No other symbol could have offered such comfort as we still, today, endure the horrors of that day. Today, American armed forces carry our flag in the villages of Iraq, the mountains of Afghanistan, and the jungles of the Philippines, wherever terrorism may reside. Their struggle against the sponsors of terrorism is the hardest battle yet. And this threat to our nation and to our way of life is certainly as great a challenge as our flag has ever seen. The resurgence of patriotism after September 11, 2001 has rekindled respect for our flag. Today, we see the Star-Spangled Banner wherever we turn, on homes, businesses, automobiles, and billboards. Such displays stimulate our love for our nation and for what it stands. They remind us of the sacrifices being made by men and women of our armed forces around the world. And they are a tribute to the heroes of the police and fire departments the nation over. The greatest significance of this flag, however, lies in the influence it has in the hearts and minds of millions of people. It has waved over the unparalleled progress of a nation in developing democratic institutions, scientific and technological knowledge, education, and culture. It has served as a beacon for millions of poor and oppressed refugees abroad, and stands as a promise that the underprivileged will not be forgotten. What is the meaning of the flag of the United States? There can never be a definitive answer to that question. There are people in this world who see it as a symbol of imperialism. Others see it as a destiny of the people. A reference to these and similar views of the flag was resolved by Woodrow Wilson when he said, "This flag, which we honor and under which we serve, is the emblem of our unity, our power, our thought, and shape of this nation. It has no other character than that which we give it from generation to generation. The choice is ours. Only love, true love of our fellow man, can create peace. The emblem and token of that love is the Stars and Stripes, the symbol of the American way of life. Our fathers, God to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King." That does conclude our ceremony for this evening. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to give special thanks to the Legion for bringing the flags in. They did a fantastic job.